everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as Michigan State taking down Indiana. What a big win by the Spartans. Don't look now, they're 14-2. Also, how about UCLA pulling off not one but two upsets? Were they for real? Or was that just their opponents just having a little bit of bad luck that day? Also, we had the Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 in Newport Beach, and I got to be part of it as I actually got some pictures, I got some interviews, which I hope you checked out on Instagram and on X, and we got to see some high-level volleyball from pretty much most of the top countries. Also, we had some NCAA men's volleyball news. What happened in that spectrum? Is it good news? Is it bad news? And we have the CIS Southern Texas girls volleyball pairing this weekend. Will Mater Dei repeat? Yeah, Canadian has something to say about that. Can Marymount win it all? Plenty of volleyball. Just that. Some of us are best volleyball action here on Set Point. It's Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on IS Sports Video. Your feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 320 of Set Point. And without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, and on TikTok. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers, and with your help, we could definitely make it happen. So thank you to everyone for supporting us and whatnot throughout most of the way. And also make sure to follow Set Point on social media as well on X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as TikTok at set_point.ie. I need to get that back up and running. Also follow Set Point on Instagram as well at set_point.iesr. You can also follow me personally as well at Teran Rodriguez1. And for the last 11 years, IS Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, like I did this past week, coaches and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports series around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IS Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to two of our sponsors, Play It Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Vital Apparel. So without any further delay, let's get on into what our sponsors are all about. I will see you all in a little bit.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out, The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out our two sponsors if you haven't already. We would all greatly appreciate, and we appreciate them for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And like I said, the way you can follow Set Point on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez 1. That's my personal account. You can also follow me as well, or Set Point on social media, at set_point.ie, as well as TikTok. I got to get that fired up again. And then also follow on Instagram, at set_point.iesr. And without any further delay, let us begin the action, as looks like this might be as good as it gets when it comes to my camera. I'm trying to get the background in, but unfortunately it is not looking like it. This just might have to do. I don't want to this unfortunately is going to have to do, sadly. But with all that being said, let's get on into the volleyball action. So we'll obviously start off with some NCAA, as well. That's the big thing that everyone loves when it comes to this, and it's kind of the big thing that's kind of taking over. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some NCAA women's volleyball and whatnot. So when it came to NCAA women's volleyball from last week, just trying to adjust my camera, perfect, just so y'all get to see my mug and whatnot. So last week when it came to NCAA women's volleyball, it was a little, I wouldn't say quiet. I thought it was a little bit of a fascinating week. I mean, the week pretty much got started on Wednesday, which is kind of the big rule of thumb. And we had this little big matchup. We had this SEC matchup between number 17 Tennessee and number 2 Texas. Texas was undefeated, while Tennessee was looking to prove themselves. Texas did outlast Tennessee in 5, which I thought it was a little bit surprising. This time, Texas didn't need a big comeback, as they jumped out to a big lead in set 5. I think it was like 10-3, and they just never looked back, as the Longhorns were led by Tori Stafford, who had 30 kills. They also got 14 kills from Kari Spears, along with 11 digs. And then Abby Vanderwall had 10 kills as well. Texas as a team, they hit 321 while holding Tennessee to 262, which isn't bad, as the Lady Vols were led by Hayden Kubik, who had 15 digs and 15 kills. Mackenzie Plant had 14 kills, and Peyton Chapman added 13 kills. So overall, it was a great effort from Tennessee. Unfortunately, it was just not meant to be, sadly, for the Longhorns. But I give them an E for effort when it came to that. But unfortunately, it was just to no avail. Next up, we had number 3 Kentucky playing at number 9 Texas A&M at College Station, where the Wildcats did get a challenge in that first set. They lost it 25-21, but they managed to gentlemen sweep the Texas A&M Aggies, winning the next 3 sets by scores of 25-22, 25-23, and 27-25, as the Wildcats were led by Eva Hudson, who had 24 kills. Brooklyn DeLay had 19 kills, and Lizzie Carr had 11 kills. Texas A&M was led by Logan Lednicki, who had 21 kills. Kendall Stowers had 13 kills, and Emily Helmuth added 9 kills. So I actually just found out about Kendall Stowers' story. She was actually a former standout at Baylor, and then unfortunately she got too many concussions, and they forced her to sit out a year, which was such a big loss for Baylor. But now she's at Texas A&M, and she's kind of revitalized her career, which I thought was pretty awesome. So unfortunately for Texas A&M, they just could not stop the likes of Kentucky. Kentucky is a darn good team. There's a reason why they're top 5 for a reason. But For Texas A&M, it was still a solid effort from them. I just don't think they're on the level of Kentucky and Texas, but they're kind of on that A level. They're not in the S tier level. They're on the A level, which is still pretty darn good if you ask me. Then next up, we had number 8 Arizona State sweeping Baylor. Now, all 3 sets were close, but in the end, Arizona State pulled off the win 26-24, 27-25, and 25-23 as the Sun Devils were led by Noemi Glover, who had 15 kills. Bailey Miller had 9 kills, and then Colby Neal had 7 kills. As a team, Arizona State hit 311. Even though Baylor hit 240, which wasn't bad, they got 11 kills from Manuela Bibine, who had a hitting percentage of 381, along with 11 kills. Ksenia Rockmanchik had 10 kills. MJ McCurdy had 9 kills. Unfortunately, it was just not enough for the Bears as ASU was able to pull off that big win, which was pretty solid if you ask me. It's a pretty good win if you ask me. And then you had this little upset, UCLA taking down Minnesota on the road in straight sets. Now, earlier in the week, on Wednesday, there was the news, unfortunately for Minnesota, that Sydney Acevedo is now out for the year with a lower leg injury, which really sucks for them. That's their 4th starter that has now been put on the shelf, aka she's out for the year, which really is such a bummer, as the Bruins were led by Sheridan Leverett, who had 15 kills. They also got 6 kills from Mariana Singletary, as well as Maggie Lee. As a team, UCLA only hit 230, but they held Minnesota to a hitting percentage under 100, which is pretty impressive, as Julia Hansen led the way with 13 kills. They got 13 digs from McKenna Garr, as well as 10 digs from Carly Gilk. But unfortunately, it was just not enough. And this is where Minnesota misses a bunch of its top players and their starters from earlier in the year, like McKenna Wooker and whatnot. Unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be when it comes to Minnesota. They're just going to have to find ways to have its other players to step up and whatnot. We also had number 15, Kansas sweeping Texas Tech, and number 24, Colorado taking down Arizona in 4. Thursday, we had number 12, Purdue sweeping Ohio State. Number 11, TCU taking down UCF in 4. Number 22, USC took down Oregon in 4, which was pretty darn good. And I guess when it comes to the Big West realm, we had, well, on Tuesday, we actually had Cal Poly taking down UCSB in 5. And then we had UC Davis reverse sweeping UC San Diego, which I thought was a massive trap game for the Aggies, just because they could have definitely looked ahead to the matchup against Long Beach State, but to the credit of UC Davis, they were able to get it together after that second set, and they were able to pull off the reverse sweep, which I thought was pretty darn impressive. Friday, we had the upset that was heard all over the world. We had number 18 Miami reverse sweeping number 4 Pitt. What an amazing reverse sweep for the Canes. And we got to play the All About the U music, except I don't want to, just because I don't want to get copyright and whatnot. Anyway, so Flo Marie Heredia Colon led the way with 38 kills. She had over half of Miami's kills, as Miami had 58 kills altogether as a team, which is absolutely insane. She was just on a tear. This girl better be up for AVCA Player of the Week. She also had 11 digs to boot as well, and she also had 2 blocks as well as a service ace. The next kill leader for Miami was Jasmine Vergara, who had 6 kills. As a team, Miami hit 218. So the bottom line is Miami goes as far as Flo Marie Colon takes them. For Pitt, they were led by Olivia Babcock, who had 30 kills. She had half the kills that Pitt had as a team, while Blair Bayless added 10 kills. Pitt actually hit 293, which was pretty good. Unfortunately, and they also had 13 blocks as a team. Sadly, it was just not enough, as, man, if there's ever a match that Pitt wants back, it's this one, because they actually almost made a 5th set comeback. They actually, I think, were down, 9-5, and they clawed their way back to getting within 1 at 14-13, but Miami just put it away, and they just said, say goodnight, Gracie. Anyway, that was that for that matchup. Amazing comeback for Miami. And this was kind of the matchup that what Miami team would we get? And this was the matchup of, is Miami the real deal? And they really proved that they were the real deal. So bravo to them. We also had Stanford sweeping Boston College, Louisville sweeping Virginia Tech, Arizona State taking down Colorado in 4, SMU taking down Florida State in 4, Creighton sweeping Georgetown, Kansas taking down Iowa State in 4, Indiana sweeping Michigan, North Carolina sweeping Clemson. This little upset, well, then now we get on into the 3 upsets that happened. So we'll start off from top to bottom. We had number 19 Penn State taking down Wisconsin in straight sets. This was a pretty good win for the Nittany Lions. So this was this might be the type of win that could help turn a season around. And you have to be impressed with Wisconsin and with Penn State and how it took on a talented Wisconsin team. Now, Wisconsin did not have Charlie Furbringer, and as of right now, it's looking like her status is very much up in the air on when she's going to be back. There's no timetable for her to return, so that really sucks for Wisconsin not having Charlie Furbringer. As, like I said last week, their new setter is Addie Horner, who had 26 assists. The Wisconsin was led by Madison Quest, who had 10 kills. Wisconsin had an off night when Mimi Collier wasn't their kill leader. She hit under 100, and she only had 8 kills, while Quest actually had a hitting percentage of 421. Rec Hall in their wideout games, and this was a wideout game, that is when Penn State can sometimes get into the heads of opposing teams, except for Nebraska. Anyway, Penn State was led by Kennedy Martin, who had 23 kills. She had over half the kills that Penn State had as a team. Maggie Mendelson added 10 kills. Caroline Gervicius had 7 kills. Penn State as a team, they hit 296, while Wisconsin only hit 151. So my big takeaway for Penn State is this. This might have been maybe their best win of the season. Again, no Charlie Furbringer, but honestly, it's the next player up for the Badgers. And this kind of now makes me wonder, is this Penn State's conference to lose now? Because at this rate, I just don't see anybody challenging Nebraska at this point. I know I'm talking about Penn State, but it seems like now this conference is in the court of Nebraska. They're in control of their own destiny so long as they don't slip up and whatnot. For Wisconsin, this is definitely a tough loss, losing on the road. And this shows that they really need Charlie Furbringer if they want to have success. I mean, nothing against Addie Horner, but I just think that if Charlie's running the offense, that everything goes smoothly through her. But unfortunately, it was to no avail for the Badgers. Jumping from the Big Ten all the way to the Big 12, we had Arizona. Yes, the Wildcats pulling off the sweep against Baylor. So you know how Arizona sports are living in pain when it comes to the teams like the Phoenix Mercury, the Arizona Cardinals, and most likely the Phoenix Suns? Well, don't worry, Arizona sports fans. The Arizona Wildcats have your back, as the Wildcats swept Baylor 25-21, 32-30, and 25-23, as the Wildcats were led by Jordan Wilson, who had 19 kills. Carly Cisneros added 12 kills. You got to remember that this Arizona team did win the NIVC last year, so don't be too surprised that they pulled off a win like this. Though Arizona hit 148, Baylor didn't hit any better. They only hit 155, as the Bears were led by Ksenia Rachmanchik, who had 17 kills, while MJ McCurdy had 10 kills. My takeaway for the Big 12, for this Big 12 matchup, is this. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. I don't care who you are. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, and it's anyone's Big 12 at this point. I mean, it's not even a guarantee that TCU will win it, or Kansas will win it, or BYU will win it. So I think any team on any given night can beat anybody in terms of the Big 12. And that's what makes the Big 12 so unique. It's not as big and flashy as the Big 10, but still it has a lot of parity within it. Speaking of parity, we had the unranked Florida Gators. Can't believe I'm saying that sentence. Unranked in Florida. They took down Missouri in 4 sets, 25-23, 22-25, 25-23, and 28-26. This one was a grinded out match for the Gators, but they were able to win in the swamp as they were led by Jordan Bird, who had 19 kills, while Jayla August had 14 kills. Anaya Madkin had 11 kills, and Malika Vidicic had 15 kills. As a team, Florida hit 262, and I mentioned all those players. Those 4 players were the 4 players that were in double digits that had double-digit kills, and Florida had 90 digs. That is something that really also stuck out to me. 90 digs. You would think this was a 5-set match, and you would think this was a Big Ten match, but this was an SEC match as Lily Hayes had 20 digs. Alexis Stuckey had 22 digs to go along with those 56 assists. It was just amazing right there for Florida, as Missouri was led by Kaylin Alexander, who had 24 kills. Janet Damaris had 11 kills. Tyra Ariel had 8 kills. Reagan Haith had 9 kills. Missouri hit 262 compared to Florida's 262, but Missouri just didn't have the digs that Florida had. But both teams had the same number of blocks, solo blocks, and block assists, which I thought was pretty funny if you ask me. So anyway, so my takeaway for Missouri is this. I just don't think Missouri and Florida are on the level of Texas, Kentucky, and Texas A&M, which really sucks. But they should at least make the NCAA tournament. I just don't think they're gonna have deep runs unless they play like SMU in the round of 32. But honestly, I don't see either of these teams going that deep. But it's a good win for Florida. But you're gonna see why that it just kind of leaves the door open just a crack for them. So that's pretty much that for Friday. Jumping over to Saturday, we had Creighton sweeping Villanova, Penn State taking down Northwestern in 4. I'm glad some team from Penn State took down Northwestern. BYU took down Houston in 4. And I guess on Friday, I should also mention that Cal Poly swept Hawaii, which, I mean, unfortunately, Hawaii is just having so many problems. It's not even funny. So sadly, that is the case for Hawaii. And man, I feel bad for the Rainbow Wahine. But we also had UCLA sweeping number 22 USC. So if I recall correctly, this was their alumni match game where they actually honored their 1990 national championship team, which I thought was pretty good. Interesting that they actually put the USC as their alumni match game, as they also honored their 1990 championship team. You would think USC would kind of come out a little bit more fired up because, well, if I were on a team and I were playing my rival where they billed us as alumni match and the match where they honored their 1990 national championship team, I would be motivated and fired up. But unfortunately, I think USC's youth kind of nipped them in the butt as they had no player in double-digit kills. Their kill leaders were London Wajay, Adania Famuina, and Mia Taverdi. Yeah, Abigail Mullen, she had 6 kills. USC as a team, they only hit 115. So, man. And they also missed 9 serves, only had 36 digs. Their blocking was decent, but not as good as UCLA's blocking. As the Bruins were led by Sheridan Leverett, who had 14 kills. Eliana Urzua had 11 kills. Mariana Singletary had 8 kills. PK Kong had 6 kills. Don't know if she played the middle or she played the right side, but regardless, I want to say, well, since Mariana, I think, played, I mean, they've got so much depth in the middle, it's not even funny. So they could afford to, like, put PK on the right side and whatnot. UCLA hit 240 in the win, and they had 45 digs, which was 9 more than USC's. So I think for UCLA, this is their wins were impressive, but it's kind of a testament to 2 things. One, Minnesota was banged up, and UCLA is not all that bad. And then 2, USC is young. I'm not trying to say UCLA did not deserve these wins. I'm just saying that I think UCLA is good. Let's keep it a buck. I think they after these wins and the Penn State wins, there's no doubt in my mind I think UCLA can make the NCAA tournament. I don't think they'll be as high of a seed as most people thought they would be, but I think that they're still going to pose a threat. But for USC, this is kind of, I mean, they had such an impressive win over Oregon, but they just did not look like themselves against the likes of UCLA. And this is kind of a match where this could have been a de facto match, and this could be a big decisive match where this could actually have implications for NCAA tournament purposes. But unfortunately, USC is going the wrong way while UCLA is actually trending up. So that's good for the Bruins, but not so good for the Trojans. Jumping over to the Big West realm, and yes, I got to make note of this matchup. This was the battle of two undefeated Big West Conference teams, Long Beach State and UC Davis at Davis, where the Aggies cooled off the surging Long Beach State Beach as they took them down in 4 sets, 25-20, 25-19, 21-25, and 25-20. The win actually snapped 2 streaks from Long Beach State. So Davis's win snapped Long Beach State's 9-match winning streak, which I thought was pretty impressive by Long Beach State, but it also snapped a 7-match losing streak to Long Beach State. So Davis was long overdue for this win over Long Beach State, as the Aggies were led by Breeze Kasapinski, who had 17 kills. Jade Light and Brooke Hibino had 13 kills each. Allie Chandler had 9 kills. As a team, UC Davis hit 231, but they held Long Beach State to only 167. Davis had 1 more block than Long Beach State did, and they dug the ball 8 more times than Long Beach State did, 63-55. For the Beach, they were led by Logan King, who had 12 kills and 15 digs, but she only hit 111. Elisa Gee also had 10 kills. She had 8 digs. Ryan Sheffy, she was good in the middle. She had 10 kills, and that's something Long Beach State has been struggling with, hitting in the middle. If they get the middle involved more, they might actually have a shot, because they honestly cannot have Logan King and Elisa Gee taking a bunch of swings. And they run a 6-2, but I don't know if that 6-2 is necessarily working out for them. I mean, obviously Maddie Maxwell can hit the ball pretty darn well, but I just don't think she has a good advantage over some of these other tall players and whatnot. So my takeaway for Long Beach State is this. Their streak was bound to end eventually. I mean, the fact that they went this far without losing a match in Big West Conference play and having won 9 straight was pretty impressive, but they just ran into a buzzsaw on the road. And the first 2 sets kind of showed it. But I think for Long Beach State, this is kind of their wake-up call. And I don't want to say they looked ahead, but this week they've got 2 big matches at home, UC San Diego and Hawaii. Meanwhile, for UC Davis, this kind of puts a little bit of hope in UC Davis. So I checked their record books. I don't think UC Davis has made the NCAA tournament in Division I, which is very surprising, because this is a pretty solid UC Davis team. I mean, they start off as a NCAA Division II team, but then they worked their way up, and now they're in NCAA Division I. And their eligibility in Division I think, started in 2007, if I'm speaking correctly. But overall, Davis, if they make the NCAA tournament, that would be great for their program. It would be so awesome to see UC Davis in the big dance, because if that's the case, then I think that would be really, 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 really awesome. Anyway, I think for UC Davis, I think for them, this is a big feather in their cap, but they just can't get all fat and lazy. They can't just hang their hat on that, because they have 2 winnable matches this upcoming week. I don't think they're going to lose to Riverside or Bakersfield. I mean, a lot of crazy things have happened in the Big West. However, I don't think they're going to be losing those. And that's with all due respect to Riverside and Bakersfield. I'm not trying to say those 2 are like the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders of Big West volleyball, but I'm just saying that I think with how Davis is playing, I don't think they're going to slow down by any means. Anyway, but that's pretty much that for Saturday. Now, jumping to Sunday, we had Nebraska taking out number 12 Purdue in straight sets. Nebraska, okay, this is kind of expected. I mean, look, Purdue is playing good and all that, but Nebraska is just playing on a whole different level. Even on the road, Nebraska is not slowing down for anybody, as Harper Murray led the way with 16 kills. Andy Jackson had 12 kills. She hit 450. Nebraska as a team, they hit 349 while holding Purdue to only 186. as the Boilermakers were led by Kenna Woolard, who had 14 kills. The fact that she even got 14 kills and she hit 290 is a miracle, if you ask me, especially with how scrappy and defensively Nebraska plays. Purdue as a team hit 186, and like I said, this is basically Nebraska's conference to lose at this point, just because I think for Nebraska, they're just on a tear. I just feel that Nebraska is just playing on a whole other level and whatnot. So I think for Nebraska, I'd be surprised if anyone could beat them. I'm not trying to put them on a pedestal and say they're going to win the national championship. I'm sure they're going to have one Big West Conference team kind of give them a little bit of trouble, but I don't think I would be remiss if I saw Nebraska losing to someone, especially with Charlie Furbringer being out for an extended period of time. I just don't see Nebraska losing by any means. Like, who's going to challenge them? I don't think UCLA. I mean, maybe UCLA, but UCLA is just too inconsistent. USC is too young, and even though Nebraska would be playing on the West Coast, I think they're comfortable playing in a different time zone and whatnot. And heck, their fan base would probably take over Pauley Pavilion and the Galen Center. And that is no disrespect to USC and UCLA fans. I'm just saying that Nebraska fans travel well. Anyway, so moving on. Number 2, Texas took down Alabama in 4. Now, everyone was kind of getting a little bit out of whack when it came to Alabama. So, look, Texas is coming off of an emotional 5-set match against Tennessee. Texas dropped the first set, and I was like, is this concerning? No. I mean, Texas responded well in the second, third, and fourth set. I don't think this is anything to worry about too much. The third set was a little bit dicey and all that, but good teams find a way to eventually win sets. And I think for Texas, that's just what they're doing. Now, I think Texas is most likely to lose the match sooner than Nebraska, especially with what's been going on with Wisconsin, with not having Charlie Furbringer and whatnot. And I just don't think there's a team that's going to be touching Nebraska by any means of the Big Ten. Alabama or Texas, I mean, I don't want to say this is too big of a deal, but I mean, going 5 with Tennessee is one thing, but losing a set to Alabama, I mean, some people are clamoring why Texas still got 4 first-place votes in the AVCA poll from this week. But what can you do? Anyway, so moving on, we had number 3 Kentucky sweeping LSU. Look, LSU is not a bad team. Journey Robinson is absolutely astounding, but Kentucky just plays really good team ball. I just don't think that Kentucky is slowing down for anybody. Then you had number 4 Pitt sweeping Florida State. Number 6 Stanford swept Syracuse. Number 5 Louisville took down Virginia in 4. Number 7 Wisconsin swept Maryland. That's not a surprise. Number 9 Texas A&M swept Mississippi State on the road. Number 10 SMU cooled off Miami and took them down in 4. Now, I'm not too surprised that this happened. I mean, Miami, look, they had a great win over Pitt, but I just think that this match was kind of a letdown spot, as the oh god, why do I keep forgetting SMU's mascot? It's not the Mustangs and whatnot. It's like I know their little thing is their mascot's name is Peruna. So anyway, moving on. So moving on. Nebraska, SMU, they were led by Jaden Livings and Malia Jones, both having 12 kills. Miami was led by, no surprise here, Flo Marie Heredia Colon, who had 19 kills. Now, the 19 kills are great and all, but she hit only 90.94, and she had 14 hitting errors, which, oh, God. I mean, I just think I wouldn't say they had a letdown. I think she just kind of cooled off and whatnot, just because, well, I mean, having a big match like that, you're bound to have eventually a a letdown spot when it comes to the following match. So all in all, it was a tough loss for Miami, but if they were to play back-to-back great matches like that, they would have legit been absolutely impressive, if you ask me. But unfortunately, it was to no avail, and sadly, I just think that they were bound to kind of have this type of match. I mean, coming off of an emotional win like that, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. But unfortunately, SMU was just the better team. But they're still having a great season. I mean, they're starting to make their name well known in the ACC, and I think they're still doing a great job. I just think that SMU had a little bit more of a better attack and whatnot. So SMU are known as the Mustangs. Okay, so they are the Mustangs. So I was right. My hunch was right the first go around. Anyway, so there was that matchup. Moving on, we had number 14 Minnesota sweeping the Ohio State. Number 17 Tennessee swept Ole Miss. Then we had number 23 North Carolina taking down Georgia Tech in 4. Number 25 Mizzo took down Auburn in 4. Then we had this little upset: Michigan State sweeping number 20 Indiana. Oh God! If there was a match Indiana would like to have back, I think it would have been this one, as Michigan State, I can't believe they're 14-2. That's something we kind of got to keep an eye out for. And maybe, just maybe, we could see this team in the NCAA tournament. But let's hold our horses real quick, as Michigan State didn't even have one player in double digits in terms of kills, but neither did Indiana, as Michigan State was led by Bianca Mumkaller, who had 8 kills, while Susanna Kulig had 7 kills. For Indiana, they were led by Ella Boersma, who had 8 kills, as well as Avery Tatum. Unfortunately, it was just not enough, as Indiana suffered its first Big Ten loss of the season. And this actually came after they took down Michigan in straight sets. So I'm surprised Indiana had a little bit of a letdown game in this. But it is what it is, unfortunately. And sometimes that's just how it is when it comes to the Big Ten. Just goes to show that one week you are riding the high of highs, and the next week you're kind of coming down back to earth. Kind of like Miami did following their win over Pitt, but I digress. Anyway, that is that for the week. And I guess on Sunday, there was also something else that happened in the Big West. There was UC Santa Barbara taking down Hawaii in 4 sets, which I think is kind of impressive. But again, Hawaii is still banged up with injuries, and you got to feel for the Rainbow Wahine. I still think there's a chance for them, but it's just that it kind of got to pull some upsets on the road. I know they've got Long Beach State and UC San Diego this week, so they're going to have to really buckle down here when it comes to that 2-game road trip. All right, moving on. We've got the ABCA Terraflex Division 1 poll for this week, and let me just switch things up real quick. Today is the 13th. Just going to put you right over here. There we go. All right, so this week's poll for this week, obviously 1, 2, and 3 are still the same. Louisville jumped up, Stanford jumped up, Pitt went down 2 spots, Arizona State moved up a spot, SMU moved up 2 spots, Wisconsin moved down 2 spots, and Texas A&M moved down a spot. So that's your top 10. 11 is TCU, Purdue is 12, Creighton is 13, Miami is 14, Kansas is 15, Tennessee is 16, Penn State is 17, Minnesota is 18, BYU is 19, Baylor is 20, UNC or North Carolina 21, Indiana 22, UCLA 23, Colorado 24, and USC or Southern California is 25. So that's your top 25. We had Miami going up, rising yet again. They went up 4 spots again. They were the biggest riser. UCLA is back in the top 25, which is great for them. Now they just got to not have a big head, and they actually have to get the job done when it comes to playing their next opponent. So you have that right there. So moving on to week 8 of the NCAA women's volleyball season. So looking at week 8, there were some matches that went on, not anything too out of the ordinary. Nothing too big on Tuesday. Wednesday, this is a sneaky good matchup, Florida versus Tennessee. If there's ever a time for Florida to try to get back into the top 25, this would be the match to do so. But Tennessee's playing pretty darn good. So I don't know what we could expect from Florida, but if Tennessee plays their cards right, they should be fine. Utah Colorado is a very interesting matchup. This is kind of the get back matchup for Utah, but if Colorado keeps playing the same way Colorado has been playing, I just don't see how they lose this one. I think Colorado's stock is going up, even though they didn't really they performed well against Arizona State. They just didn't wow me, but it is what it is. And then Thursday we have number 8 we have Arizona State taking on BYU, which I think can be a good matchup. This is going to really test Arizona State just because I want to see what those Sun Devils can do on the road in Smith Fieldhouse, because that place can get very loud and very raucousy, even though that's not a word, real quick. So if I'm BYU, I'm playing with house money here, and I'm just letting it rip when it comes to facing this Arizona State team. Then Thursday, we have this little fun rivalry. We have Purdue versus Indiana. Let's see how Indiana responds after suffering its first Big Ten conference loss. Let's see how Purdue does on the road. I say on the road loosely because this is an in-state rivalry. And then we have number 15, Kansas against Houston. Number 8, Miami taking on Cal. And then I guess another notable matchup is UC San Diego at Long Beach State. That's going to be a fun matchup, and it's a sneaky good unranked versus unranked matchup just because UC San Diego saw its season come to an end at the hands of Long Beach State in the Big West Conference Championships last year. So there you go. UC San Diego also has come close to beating Long Beach State, but close but not close enough. So this would be that would be kind of a good time to beat Long Beach State if you're the Tritons. I might go to that matchup, but we shall see. Anyway, so jumping to Friday, we have number 1 Nebraska at Michigan State, Arkansas at number 2 Texas, Pitt at Notre Dame. That one won't be all that interesting. This one should be interesting. Number 8 SMU at number 4 Louisville. This one is going to be fun. This one's going to really test Louisville. Louisville's going to get tested a lot this week because they've got not one but 2 top 10 matchups, and I really think that Louisville can really impress everyone in the ACC, but I want to see what they can do against SMU. So if they can take down the Mustangs, then that could be big time for them. But if SMU pulls off the win, then that proves that SMU is for real, and that could rewrite some wrongs that they had. Then we have number 23 UCLA taking on number 9 Wisconsin. This one I think can be interesting. UCLA does have to travel to play the Badgers, but you kind of got to remember that Wisconsin is without Charlie Furbringer. I would not be surprised if Wisconsin wound up losing, but I think UCLA just has too much. I think Wisconsin has too much firepower. I mean, UCLA, look, they had 2 good upsets, but USC was very young, and then Minnesota was pretty much a walking injury reserve and whatnot. So, and that's no disrespect to Minnesota or USC. I just think, and it's no disrespect to UCLA, I just think Wisconsin on the road is going to be a challenge for UCLA, but who knows? Maybe UCLA can stack up to Wisconsin. Then we have Oklahoma at number 9, Texas A&M, Kansas State at TCU, St. John's at Creighton, Minnesota at Oregon. If there's ever a time for Oregon to pull a big win, they would be against Minnesota, just because Minnesota is reeling because they are not 100%. So if they, like I said, if there's ever a time for the Ducks to pull off a big win, it's right there and then. You got Penn State at Washington, USC at Iowa, Ole Miss, Mizzo or Missouri, North Carolina, Boston College, and also Hawaii at Long Beach State. This will be the last time Long Beach State and Hawaii face one another at the Pyramid as conference foes, because you got to remember Hawaii is moving off to the Mountain West Conference next season. So that's something to keep in mind. Then Saturday, we have Arizona State at Utah, Minnesota at Washington. That one's going to be a fun matchup just because that's the Keegan Cook matchup, because he used to coach at Washington. And I'm interested to see what Washington can do, because like I said, just like Oregon, if there's ever a time for Washington to actually pull off a big win, it's against their former coach, and it's against a reeling Minnesota team who might be ripe for the picking. Then you have Penn State at Oregon. I wouldn't say that's a winnable matchup for Oregon. I wouldn't say it's not a losable matchup. I just think that Oregon, I think they have a good chance, but if Kennedy Martin, if she just keeps playing the way that Kennedy Martin just keeps playing, Oregon will have no answers. And that's no disrespect to Oregon. Then you have BYU at Texas Tech, which BYU should probably win that, even though it's not at Smith Fieldhouse. Then you have West Virginia at Colorado. I mean, if West Virginia wants to prove that they're the real deal, winning that matchup would be big. And that's pretty much that when it comes to the notable Saturday matchups. Sunday, you've got Nebraska at Michigan, Oklahoma at Texas with the Red River rivalry. That one is probably going to be packed. Florida at Kentucky. Man, if that were a few years ago, I'd say this might be the de facto matchup for the SEC. But Florida is not going in the right direction, and Kentucky is still Kentucky, and there's still Texas to be in the SEC. Then you have number 6 Pitt taking on number 4 Louisville. Rematch of last year's Final Four, where Louisville took down Pitt in 4 to end their season. So if there's anything on the minds of Olivia Babcock and a majority of those Pitt returners, or at least a good chunk of them, whoever remains, it would be win it for last year's team. They know that Louisville is a good team, but they also know that they need to get back on track, because if they slow down, they ain't winning no ACC championship. Also, this is kind of the is Pitt for real match. After getting reverse swept against Miami, I want to know if Pitt is the real deal. Is this going to be are we going to get the Pitt that was supposed to be good, or are we going to get the Pitt that was reverse swept by Miami or beaten by Florida to start the season? So this is kind of a big match for Pitt. This is going to really prove if they're the real deal or not. Then you've got Miami at Stanford. Again, this is another is Miami for real or not matchup. If they beat Stanford, Miami's the real deal. Stanford is a young team. They're not a bad team, but Miami has to go all the way across the country, going from South Beach all the way to Northern California to try to win that matchup. So if anything, that's going to be a massive challenge for Miami. But if we get the Flo Marie Heredia Colon that had the monster game against Pitt, I think Miami can possibly win. But we also got to wonder who else is going to step up for Miami if Flo Marie has a bad game. So we'll see. Then you got USC, Wisconsin. Look, Brad Keller is my boy. I totally would like to see USC pull off this upset, but until we see USC play a complete game against a top 10 team, I just don't really see USC winning this matchup. And that's with all due respect to USC. I mean, you still got to remember Wisconsin has a bunch of really talented players. I mean, I know Charlie Furbringer is out, but honestly, they still have Mimi Collier and whatnot. So, and honestly, USC is just too young to be pulling off a big upset like that. If USC pulls off that upset, then boy howdy, I will be the first to congratulate SC. But if there was any motivation for USC to try to win this game, is they still have a chance to host in terms of the regionals. You'd have to be a top 16 team, and you'd have to see yourself win a majority of these big time matches and whatnot. But that's my thing. Then you also have Arkansas at Texas A&M, number 10 SMU at Notre Dame, Purdue Rutgers, Seton Hall Creighton, Auburn Tennessee, Ohio State Indiana, LSU Mizzo in the Battle of the Tigers, and then North Carolina Syracuse. So that's that for all the notable matchups. And that's pretty much that for NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 8. Pretty good amount of notable matchups right there and then. I mean, the Louisville matches are the matchups that are pretty much going to be of note. So keep an eye out that. So we're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some Newport Beach Pro Beach Volleyball Tour, Pro Beach Tour Elite 16 in Newport Beach action to discuss. And then we've also got a little high school girls volleyball to discuss. And then we've got a little NCAA men's volleyball news. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernan.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back with the second half of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows and definitely check out our sponsors as well. So, and we would greatly appreciate, again, subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on social media at IE Sports Radio. So without any further delay, let's get on into the second half of our show. So this past week was the Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 in Newport Beach. And I mentioned this news last week that I was praying and wondering if I was going to be attending as a media member. It was Sunday, and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, it doesn't look like I'm going to be attending this as a media member. But I got an email early Monday morning saying that my application was approved, and I was so ecstatic. I was just over the moon about that. I was like, dude, I was just praying that I was just honestly praying that I was going to hopefully make it be the get to the event as a media member. I was so ecstatic when I found out. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Especially since this was especially since Set Point just turned 6 years old, which I was wondering if that was going to be a thing. So I just did not know if I was going to attend. And when I got that email, I was on a walk, and then I just made a quick pit stop just to catch my breath. And I was like, oh my God, I actually got approved. I was about ready to cry. I'm not kidding you. I was so racked up with emotion because I was actually doing errands and I was on a walk, and I was like, dude, this is just awesome. This is amazing. So I have a lot of people to thank. First and foremost, Anthony Kirchie, former UCLA men's volleyball player. His son Luca played at Newport Harbor. I covered him for a bit, and then Luca also plays at UCLA. I gotta thank Anthony Kirchie. I really do appreciate him, being part of the people that approved me of having a credential. It really meant a lot, as well as Kelly Ricci. I think that's her last name. She also helped me out, helped me get approved of a credential. So it really meant a lot that they helped me out in terms of getting a credential. So thank you to those two. It really means the world. And thank you to everyone else that did approve of me when it came to FIVB and whatnot. It really just meant the world to me. So I actually got a few pics from and interviews. Go on Instagram and on my X for all the interviews. So I interviewed players like Julia Donlin and Lexi Denneberg, Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon, Sarah Hughes and Allie Batenhorst, Taryn Cloth and Kristen Nuss, Taylor Crabb and Taylor Sander. Who else I interviewed? I unfortunately didn't. Oh, that ain't it. I actually also interviewed Miles Partain and Andy Benish. I don't think I got their picture. No, I did not. But here's me taking a little bit of a selfie at the display board. So that was also a fun time. I also got to see some notable people when it came to this whole thing. Some notable people I got to see. Here's me and Nick England. So you all remember Nick England, former Set Point guest. He was at this whole thing because he actually works for Mikasa Volleyball, which, no, not Mikasa the restaurant in Costa Mesa. Mikasa, you can't really see it, but MIKASA ASA. But yeah, it's so great to see Nick England again. And the fact that I got to see him was awesome. He posted in a story that he was there. And then I'm like, I actually asked the Mikasa people, is Nick England around? And he was there. I was so happy to see him. It had been a hot minute since I've seen Nick England and whatnot. I haven't seen him since the day after the national championship where UCLA repeated after they beat Long Beach State at the Pyramid. And then I also got to see some UC Irvine players. I forgot the guy on the left of me, but to the right of me is Micah Goss. And then to the far left of me is Connor Hughes, Sarah Hughes' older brother. He was part of the national championship team back when UC Irvine won it that year, which I thought was pretty good. I think it was actually 2014. It was 2013 that they wound up winning it. And then I think he was also on the 2012 team, but he was also an All-American. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So, and also I didn't get a picture with this guy, but I got a picture with, but I did see Rob on the mic, aka Rob Aspero. He was all busy doing his own thing and whatnot. And unfortunately, he couldn't make the Pro Beach Tour final because I think he had to be at Manhattan Beach, and then he also had to be at UC Irvine because Rob Aspero has a lot of volleyball things to do. So we can forgive him for not being at a few of these, for being at some of these events or being at the Beach Pro Tour. But I digress. Speaking of UC Irvine, I also got to see David Niffen there. So he was actually one of the few people that recognized me. He was like, oh, what's and he even said the old catchphrase, "What's up, everybody? It's Teran Rodriguez," which that made my day. It's like, dude, it's like you nailed the phrase perfectly. So it really made my day seeing David Niffen there. Like I said, I also saw Connor Hughes. I forget the new guy's name at UC Irvine, but I'll probably look it up a little bit. And then Micah Goss. I also got to see John Sparrow, the former UCLA men's volleyball coach and the president and CEO of USA men's volleyball. So that was really awesome to see when it came to that event. I was just really happy to see him. I mean, obviously he's going to be there. I mean, if he's not there, I know he's a busy guy, but it's like, you got to be there to support the USA athletes. Otherwise, that's a little questionable if you ask me, but I digress. And then also I got a picture of GCU, Grand Canyon's beach volleyball team. So they were actually cheering for Molly Shaw, who is a GCU alum and a GCU legend and whatnot. So obviously I had to get a picture of them. And I think they were also in California for, I think it was a tournament in Manhattan Beach. It was a preseason tournament, so nothing too much when it came to that. So nothing too surprisingly when it came to that. I think I'm still trying to find the other guy's name. I think his name is Aiden, or unfortunately I don't know the other guy's name, but it'll probably come to me. So anyway, moving on. So other people I met, I got to meet Ana Patricia and her partner Duda. Oh, that ain't it. So Ana Patricia and Duda, the Brazilian beach volleyball duo that won gold in the Olympics last year. I want to get an interview with them, but unfortunately, silly me, I totally forgot, and this is kind of on me. They told me the one sentence that I was hoping not to hear. Their English was not the best, and it's like, oh. I felt that was kind of going to be my challenge when interviewing an international pair. For those that were wondering, Teran, why didn't you interview like the international pairs? That's a big reason why, because I'm not bilingual and whatnot. But it was awesome meeting Ana Patricia. She actually inquired about Set Point. She was like, "What's Set Point all about?" So, and I basically told her it's a part of IE Sports Radio. I've done it for 6 years. I talk about all things volleyball, including the international level. I do it to the best of my ability. I don't mean to like skip over like FIVB events in terms of like beach volleyball, but we're already in an hour when it comes to this show. And then, like I said, Duda was there, and I appreciate those two for letting me get a picture with them. I got to also see April Ross there. April Ross went to my high school, Newport Harbor High, so obviously I had to meet her and get a picture with her. And then I got to meet the PA announcer, or the MC, Bianca Bianca Molnar. So look, I sometimes see that she gets a lot of flack for being too overly excessive in terms of like cheering, but I think she's solid. I think people gotta like slow their roll when it comes to saying things about her. I think Bianca's energy was awesome, but I need to know what you all think. What do you all think of Bianca Molnar? I think she's awesome. I mean, she's basically like Mark Schuerman of the AVP. She's super amazing. She's really, really chill and awesome and whatnot. So I think she's awesome in terms of like getting the energy pumped up and whatnot. And I like her energy. And that is pretty much it. I did not get the screenshot of Miles Partain and Andy Benish, which makes me sad, but it is what it is. I did also get to meet. Oh, that ain't it. I thought that was it, but it wasn't. And I also got an interview with the Crab Brothers. I got to interview them twice, once individually and then the second time around. And I also got to meet one of my followers. I think his name is like Ryan Von. It's not Von Schroeder, but this was like day one of, or I think it was day two of the whole tournament, the first official day of the main draw. And I actually did a check-in video, and he actually turned around and said, "Hey, I know you. You're that set point guy." And he's like, "I follow you on Instagram." It's like, oh my God, this guy follows me on Instagram. It really made my day. And the fact that he literally remembered me just, it really just made my day. And I had to give him a follow back on Instagram. I had to, because that really just made my day when he told me that I follow you and I remembered you, and he remembered my voice. And it's like, thanks, buddy. So overall, it was really nice to meet Ryan in person. And honestly, I think that was it meant a lot that people remember who I am. They remember who I am, and they're not just and they know who my content is and what I do. So the fact that Ryan remembered me just made my day tenfold. And I was very, very happy that he was able to basically say hello, and he was able to say, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And it just really meant a lot. Ryan von Schlobaum. Ryan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Ryan von Schlobaum. That's what it says on Instagram. But either way, I appreciate him for remembering who I am and remembering my voice. It really just made my day. All right, moving on. So now that I've got the photos out of the way, let's talk about the tournament. So, all right, my rule of thumb when it comes to tournaments like this is that I always want to go to like the playoffs. Playoffs? You kidding me? We talk about playoffs? Yes, we be talking about playoffs. So the playoffs started on October 9th. Or did it? Trying to find it. It actually started on the Friday. So Friday the playoffs started, and it was actually the round of 12. So I don't know why they call it the round of they call it the Elite 16 and whatnot. But on the men's side, the first match was Plavins and Fokarats taking on Miles Partain and Andy Benish. And unfortunately for Miles and Andy, they lost in 3, which made me sad face. They actually led for a good chunk in set 1, and then Plavins and Fokarats were able to make Fokarats were able to make a comeback. But sadly, that was not the case, and they wound up losing in 3 sets, which ended their tournament run. Then you had Taylor and Trevor Crabb sweeping Nicolaitis and Karaker from Australia. That was a nice little win right there for the Crabs as they continue. And I actually made a mistake. So I actually put on Instagram that they advanced from the from the qualifier round. But Larry Hamill, if you don't follow this guy, he's pretty darn good. He delivers a lot of great volleyball. He actually said that they received a wild card entry into the main 16 team draw. So that is on me. I did not mean to. I actually did not mean to say that. That's my fault. I did not mean to basically mistake that. I was told automatic they had to go through the qualifier round. I wasn't told wild card round, so that's on me. So I'm sorry to everyone, and I apologize. But either way, anyway, yeah. So Taylor Crabb and Trevor Crabb got a wild card berth. They didn't go from the qualifying round, so there you have it. But it's still a pretty impressive run for them. And then you had Kame Schock and James Shaw, unfortunately losing to Mole H and Bernstein in 3 sets, which was such a tough loss for them. The H Mole, I forget his first name, but the Mole guy is actually a former Hawaii player. I think his name is like Herrick or something. Regardless, that's still pretty good for them to advance to the quarterfinals. Then Chase Budinger and Miles Evans lost to the Grimmelt brothers, Marco and Esteban, in straight sets. Both sets were close, 21-19, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. Then Rebecca and Carol of Brazil took down Jaden Whitmarsh and Devin Newberry in straight sets, which was tough. Haley Harward and Molly Phillips, yes, the Molly Phillips from Texas. They took down the Klinger sisters, Ronja and Dorina. Yeah, Dorina and Ronja. They took them down in 3 sets, which was pretty impressive. They actually needed to regroup after kind of whiffing on the second set, but I that was another pair that I got to interview, Haley Harward and Molly Phillips. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to get all my photos in here, but it is what it is. And then also in the round of 12, you had Julia Donlin and Lexi Denneberg taking down the Chacon sisters, Morgan and Elena, in 3 sets. That was a nice little win for Donlin and Denneberg. A good little result from the Chacon sisters, Morgan and Elena, especially since I think this was their first round of 12 appearance when it comes to a tournament like this, but unfortunately it was to no avail. And then also in the round of 12, Thalmela and Victoria of Brazil took down Corinne Quiggle and Chloe Loreen. Either way, Corinne Quiggle and her partner wound up losing in straight sets, which made me sad face. So in the quarterfinals, we had Sharif and Ahmed taking down Plavins and Fokarats in 3 sets, which, man, that Sharif and Ahmed were both really good in this tournament. I think they've had a great showing in the previous Elite 16 tournament. So if there was ever a time for them to repeat as tournament champions, this was the time. Then you had Taylor Crabb and Trevor Crabb sweeping Ehlers and Wickler of Germany, which, man, that pair, if you know that pair was actually the silver medalist from last year's Olympics. But Taylor Crabb and Trevor Crabb, their veterans, their experience and their brotherhood and their partnership, I think, was kind of a little too much for the German pair. But that's just me. And then I got to see Evandro and Arthur Lansi take down Mole and Bernstein in straight sets of Norway. The first set was actually 17-17, but Evandro and Arthur Lansi wound up finishing the set on a 4-0 run, and they just pretty much ran from there. Then the Grimmelt brothers took down Holting and Nilsson, as well as Holton Nilsson and E. Anderson of Sweden in 3 sets, which the third set was a barn burner, 20-18. And the Grimmelt brothers did that. They wound up winning on a walk-off service ace, and I think it was Esteban that had the service ace. He had ice in his veins on that serve, which I thought was really darn good. Then we had Kristen Nuss and Taryn Brasher taking down Rebecca and Carol of Brazil in straight sets, which, if you saw my interview, Nuss and Brasher actually lost to Carol and Rebecca in previous tournaments, and I think it was in Brazil or somewhere internationally, but regardless, Nuss and Brasher actually had a better performance this time around against Carol and Rebecca than the previous time. So good job to TKN on doing that. Then you had Therese Cannon taking down Therese Cannon and Megan Kraft taking down Haley Harward and Molly Phillips in 3 sets, which they actually needed a little bit of a comeback to win set number 3. They were actually down 4-1 at one point, but then they were able to turn the tide, tie it up at 5-5, and eventually take the match. So that was good on their behalf. And then you had Julia Donlin and Lexi Denneberg taking down Molly Shaw and Kelly Cheng in 3 sets, which afterward, I was, to my knowledge, and this was what I was told, Julia Donlin actually was not feeling well. So she was battling heat stroke throughout day 4 and 5, the last couple days of the tournament. And I was just concerned. So she wasn't feeling well. She actually had to puke after the game, which was totally understandable when you battle heat stroke. But I totally understood that. And you're about to see that she played super admirably. Then Anna Patricia. So it's Anna Patricia, not Patricia. Anna Patricia and Duda took down Thamela and Victoria of Brazil in an all-Brazilian quarterfinal in straight sets. So you had that right there, which was pretty darn cool. And then the semifinals, you had Evandro and Arthur Lancy taking down the Grimalt brothers in straight sets. And then you had Sharif and Ahmed of Qatar taking down the Crab brothers, which was a tough end for the Crabs, but they still had a great tournament run. Unfortunately, the Crab brothers sadly just kind of ran out of juice because Sharif and Ahmed, I did not know they wound up winning an Elite 16 prior to that. So a good tournament run for Trevor and Taylor. They actually wound up finishing 4th behind the Grimalt brothers, but it is what it is. And then in the final of the men's Elite 16 in Newport Beach, Sharif and Ahmed wound up beating Evandro and Artur Lancy in straight sets. I think it was like 21-16 to 30-28, which, man, that second set could have gone either way. And I imagine fatigue was settling in for both of those pairs. But the Qatar pair was able to take down the Brazilian duo, and there you have it. Then in the first quarterfinal, we had Teran Cloth and Kristen Nuss, or Teran Brasher and Kristen Nuss, taking down Megan Kraft and Therese Cannon in 3 sets. So first set, Kraft and Cannon played really well. Second set, Nuss and Brasher kind of got together. Third set, it looked like Cannon and Kraft were going to pull off the upset as they actually led, I think, 9-5. And they were leading throughout most of that third set. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a massive upset if they pull off the win. But thankfully for Nuss and Brasher, they had a little bit left in the tank. They had just enough to make a push. They rattled off the last 3 points. They went from being down 13-12 to winning the 5th set 15-13, which is very impressive. What else was impressive was Julia Donlin and Lexi Denneberg pulling off the upset against Ana Patricia and Duda of Brazil, winning in 3 sets. And they wound up winning off a walk-off service ace, which I thought was pretty darn awesome, if you ask me. So the fact that Julia Donlin battled heat stroke and she and her partner advanced to the championship match, that was incredible. And it's never easy to beat a gold medal duo like that. Like, Ana Patricia and Duda are like the S-tier pair when it comes to beach volleyball on the women's side. So there you have it. And then Ana Patricia and Duda finished 3rd in the Elite 16 in Newport Beach. And in the first place match, we had Teran Brasher and Kristen Nuss finishing 1st. Unfortunately, Julia Donlin just did not have enough energy. I mean, she continued, but she just wasn't her explosive and bouncy self. And you could see it that she was just gassed and fatigued. And man, for it being in the low 70s, the Newport Beach Elite 16 was a little bit of a scorcher, especially on the final day. It's like, man, that's brutal. But a great showing by Donlin and Denneberg. Donlin actually had the most points of any one player. She actually tied for Teran Brasher for that lead. So great job to her. I think Donlin was my MVP. Julia Donlin was my MVP of the tournament. I mean, in terms of individual, I mean, obviously the most outstanding pair was Nuss and Brasher, but to me, I think most outstanding player goes to Julia Donlin. And I say that with all due respect to every player in this tournament on the women's side. But anyway, there you have right there. That's the Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 in Newport Beach. I really enjoyed covering that tournament. It was such an honor. And man, I hope I can go back to covering another tournament like that in the near future. It'll be tough, but honestly, I can do it. So some NCAA men's volleyball news. So the MPSF announced on Wednesday that they're actually going to be holding their first ever media day in men's volleyball. So this is a massive step forward in terms of the game of volleyball. And I think they couldn't have picked a better event for this. Excuse me for one quick second. Yeah. They picked this is actually very good for the sport of NCAA men's volleyball. And personally, I'll just say it like it is. We need more events like this. We also need like a Big West Conference media day and whatnot in men's volleyball. Maybe a Big West Conference media day in women's volleyball. Regardless, let's start off with NCAA men's volleyball. Let's have a conference day in NCAA men's volleyball. Let's grow the game of NCAA men's volleyball, get it more recognized, get more notoriety out of it. Because honestly, I'm sick and tired of it getting the shaft when it comes to not being recognized by the NCAA. It's an insult to the game, and it's just an insult to the athletes and coaches that put in a lot of time into winning national championships and training for this whole season and whatnot. So I am for sure going to be there. The date of that is December 15th, 2025. It'll be held at the Costa Mesa Marriott in Costa Mesa, California. The commissioner, or I think it was the commissioner of the MPSF, he reached out to me, and I was just surprised at this news. I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing. And I'm going to be there. And the fact that I was reached out to it was a massive honor. So thank you to Darren. I forget his last name. I think it began with like a W or something, but it was a massive honor that Darren Preston. So Darren Preston, I really appreciated that. So there was a press release released about this, and the fact that this is going to be held in pretty much my neck of the woods is absolutely amazing. So I look forward to this, and I'm sure the fact that he emailed me about this, I'm really looking forward to it. So this is going to be super, super awesome. But yeah, we need more media days like this in terms of NCAA men's volleyball. And if anything, I'm going to do my darndest to cover this event and basically do what I can to promote this and get a lot of like content and whatnot to help grow the game of NCAA men's volleyball and whatnot. So there you have it. I'm saying whatnot a lot, but I digress. But I can't wait for it, and I really am looking forward to this event. So now let's close out by talking a little high school girls volleyball. So nothing really too much to talk about. I'm only going to make... Sorry, a little bit of a sneeze there, but I'm going to make this quick. So this week, the CIF Southern Section girls volleyball playoffs will be released this Saturday. Look, Sierra Canyon and Mater Dei, I think, are on... Goodness me. Wrong time to start having a sneezing fit, Teran. But anyway, the CIF Southern Section girls volleyball playoffs are this Saturday. I'm just going to say it like it is. I think Mater Dei and Sierra Canyon are on a collision course with one another. I think it's going to be between those two. Merrimack, I think, can challenge Mater Dei or Sierra Canyon.
But do I think they could win? That's going to depend on which Marymount team shows up. Are we going to get the Marymount team that's got swept by Mater Dei in the Nike Tournament of Champions in Phoenix, Arizona? Or will we get the Marymount team that serves really tough? Will we get McKenna Barnes going superwoman mode? Like, it all is going to depend on that. And then don't sleep on Redondo Union and Mira Costa, as well as Los Alamitos. Like, Los Alamitos might be the best kept secret in Division I. And the format, from what I'm hearing, is that it's going to be a 16-team bracket as opposed to the previous few years where they'd had 8 teams in 2 pools where the top 2 teams from each pool advance to the championship. So I guess they're going back to brackets and whatnot. So keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on that whole tournament. I don't, unless Byron Nelson loses along the way, I don't think there's going to be a national champion from California, unless, of course, again, Byron Nelson loses and whatnot. But I digress. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. That's going to be posted on probably on my personal account, but we'll see. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Set Point. Hopefully I don't have another sneezing fit. I appreciate everybody that tuned in, and I appreciate everyone that saw my content. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy all the volleyball action. I'll probably see you all on maybe Thursday when I head out to Long Beach State for Long Beach State UC San Diego, but we shall see. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy all the volleyball action. Peace!